disclaimer, right? When you watch movies, you should watch with the known like baseline that you are indulging in your romanticization fantasies, right? Real life is probably not going to happen that way. Like it needs to be put out there. So like if I watch a rom-com, I'm not watching it so that I can feel like, like my favorite chick flick is P.S. I Love You, right? Like I'm not going it, like I'm not sure that I would ever in my life know that I'm going to die and plan out my my wife's like a year after that. There's something a little like macabre about it and like not, and probably a little creepy and like, you know what I mean? Like, so, but in theory, I'm watching it for the suspension of disbelief. Like, can love be this real? Right? Can love be this like palpable and this like, and I take cue from that and I say, okay, I should act in a certain way whenever I'm in love to like solidify it, right? But there is something to be said about how romanticization is the extreme of either of those things, right? If you want to get swept off your feet and go live a lavish lifestyle, it's probably because in your life right now, there's not a lot of luxury or wealth involved, which is literally the majority of people. 90% of people in the world right now don't have access to that kind of access, right? Like they don't have access to that kind of wealth. So sure, we romanticize the Birkin bags and like being able to go to New York Fashion Week and like spend money on luxurious hotels and like and then fly to Saint Tropez and be on the beach and like right, like of course, who doesn't, obviously. Right? However, like life doesn't necessarily work like that. So if you reserve yourself and say no, I'm the kind of person that deserves that, I won't settle for anything less than that, you're probably going to be disappointed because that's like the smallest percentage of people that have that, and more importantly, even a smaller percentage of you getting plucked out of nowhere into that lifestyle. Chances are people that live that lifestyle are only wanting to fuck with people that are already in that lifestyle, right? Or adjacent, right? And if you work at fucking, the mall, like
bank is bank.
Yeah,
money
but
is money.
Also like a billionaire is probably not gonna see you at your job and be like, I'm gonna change your life. Like it's probably not gonna happen. Yeah, right?
Exactly.
But on the back end, the romanticization of like being with this bad boy where they like, you're in the back of a motorcycle and it's like very frugal living and we only have like the bare minimum and we travel across the country and like, but like it's all about like the experience and this and that. That also might backfire on you because like life can't be that version of itself for too long. Like you need stability. And there's other dreams that you might have. You want a family. You can't be out with the bad boy at the dive bar every night. Yeah. Living out that fantasy. Because how are you gonna get the money to raise your kids? You can't raise kids in this economy at the current moment with if you like with intention without having a plan, right? So that's not sexy to say like we need a plan, right? But it's real life. So like you need to figure out a way to be both, right? And my advice, not advice, like I'm giving advice to men, but if I tell myself something, is like you need to have range in your life that you're able to do, that you're able to access, right? I've been broke before, so I know how to, open up a can of tuna and like heat up some broccoli and be like, this is what we're eating today.
Sausage
like,
and eggs,
right? Like,
toast.
yeah. Like aquí vamos, and that's it. Like, exactly. Let's go, right? I know how to do that, but I've also sacrificed enough to where my life doesn't have to be that. So now I know that I can spend money on a trip and what that would look like and where I want to spend my and like how I want to spend my experience, right? And I also can go to a dive bar, have a night out on the town, be very reckless or careless or whatever it is, and like feel very like free and like unapologetic about whatever, And then I can also sit down with somebody and say like, okay, well, what do you want to do? Do you want to, like, how are we going to plan our year? And like have the capacity to do both. If you have the capacity to do both, I think in some way, shape or form, you can always access that version of you. But if you don't have the capacity for both, then you're always limited to one version. And I think that that's where people, especially when we're talking about partners, I think that's where we end up falling disillusioned with people. Because you might fall in love with somebody for the romance, for the, we went out every night and it was magical because he owned the room and he was going in there and like he was in there with his leather jacket and like he was playing pool and like he owned the room outside smoking a cigarette, like, right? But then when it came down to real life and I wanted to have kids, that's not the guy that fulfilled that, right? But if you're able to do both, now you have access to a wider range and a brighter future with somebody that's more complicated, because we're all more complicated than just like the movie version of ourselves, right? However, you can't have the capacity to do both unless you fulfill the prerequisites for that. So like if you can't make a lot of money or a decent amount of money and figure out how to be good with money, you won't have the capacity to be the guy that can think about kids long term, right?
And everyone's like dream is different. Like, because some people, because I've met some friends that it's like, I don't want kids.
Yeah.
I just want a relationship.
Yeah.
I just want to get married. Or it's like, actually, I don't even want to date. I'm happy being a free spirit.
Facts.
A free spirit.